Hi everyone, and welcome to Scale Up Your Business. Week in and week out, I'm going to bring you the world's leading experts on business growth and entrepreneurial success. And as I always say, when I bring these amazing guests on the show, you are going to get a heap of value. How important is mindset in business?
You are going to descend to the level of your preparation.
I was so busy today, but you were busy doing the wrong stuff.
I will be of service to small business owners till my final breath.
And the question is, can you get your brand everywhere?
Be grateful, be brave, have faith, and show up. Welcome to Scale Up Your Business. Okay, hi everybody. Welcome to Scale Up Your Business for another week. And today we've got a special one. I'm super excited. I've even brought out the pink light, and I'll explain the context of that in a minute. But I'm delighted to have on the show today DJ Irie. Now, he is an entertainment luminary, a philanthropist. Here he is. He's based out of Miami Beach, Florida. He's got a global music empire. He does a whole heap of stuff in the world of entrepreneurship. He's also the official DJ of the NBA's Miami Heat. Irie, welcome to Scale Up Your Business.
Hey, man, I'm happy to be here. What's going on, man? I'm ready to scale up, man.
You're ready to scale up?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I show you how cheesy I am, right? This is how cheesy I am. I've even got my Miami Heat top. Look.
Yo, all right.
That's how bad it is. No.
I gotta send you one of these though, man. Listen, when we're done, I'm gonna send you one of these bad boys right here.
Oh,
this
man.
is what you need in your life. You know what I mean?
I need one of those. I'm a size medium.
Medium? All right, done deal. I might just scale you up to a large. You know what I'm saying?
I need to do that. I know. Yeah, so this is a live stream, so everyone's going, what the hell is going on right now? So let me just put a little bit of flavor and context. Irie and I got hooked up by a good friend of ours, Sergio, and who actually, I think he's coming on the podcast. We've just done an episode. And everyone knows that I'm a massive basketball fan, and I've been to see the Heat play a number of times. And when he said that he knew you, Irie, I thought, wow, that's interesting. And then I did a little bit more digging into kind of what you do and what you're about. And I thought, we've got to get you on Scale Up Your Business.
Sure. Well, listen, man, here we are. Right?
Here we are,
man.
All righty. So the theme today, right, which I've wanted to cover for a while, is going to be, how do you create an empire? How do you create success, certainly business success, by following your passion, right? Because, in the world that you're in. So let's get into that, because I want to hear your story, Irie. So, from where you started to kind of where you are today. Let's go through it.
Sure. So, I was just a crazy, energetic kid that loved some music, right? And to the point, when I was in high school, I actually went to boarding school in Jamaica, right? And my parents would send me, money for lunch, and just my allowance. And instead of buying food and things they needed to live, I would buy records. I'd buy 45s, right? And then when I go to lunch, when I'd go to lunch, I look at my friends and be like, "You gonna eat that piece of cornbread?" Because so people thought that no one loved me, but I was just spending all my money on records, right? And so I get back to Miami and I have this pretty significant record collection. This is all reggae at the time, right? And then just the influences of being in Miami and new friends that I made, back home, started, building out my dance music collection and my hip hop collection, and rock collection. And, before you know it, man, I had about, 5,000 records, but here's the crazy part about it, right? The thing that happened to me that actually got me into performing was I had a crush on this girl. There's always a girl, by the way, Nick. There's always a girl.
There's always something else. I was waiting for it.
There's always a girl. Here it is, right? We're at that part. So I had a huge crush on this girl, and my neighbor knew I had a crush on her, and they were good friends. So one day, I get home from school, me, I'm a free spirit. So, I strip it down to the underwear and socks, and I'm just kind of kicking it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it. We don't need to go any further than that. It's all good.
So I look at my peephole, and I see it's my neighbor and the girl that I have this huge crush on, right? So she comes in, open the door, let them in, hey, what are you guys doing here? And like, oh, we're just, in the neighborhood hanging out. So we decided to come by and see what's up to you. My neighbor was like, yo, my mom needs me to do something. I got to go. I'm like, whoa, don't leave me alone with her, dude. Like, the hell? Anyway, she makes me show her around the house. I didn't want to show her my room because I have records everywhere, strewn all over my room. And she basically demanded to see my room. And I opened my door and she sees all the records, okay? And she looks around, her face lights up, and she goes, oh my gosh, look at all these records. I didn't know you were a DJ. I love DJs. And I'm like, obviously I'm a DJ. Why would I have all these records, right? I never DJ'd a day in my life, okay? I just like that.
We call this self-actualization, mate. It's basically where you kind of jump into the future.
There's a big time, okay? Feet and head first, if you can imagine, right? So, before she leaves, this going into the holiday break, right? So before she leaves, she asks me, hey, what are you doing for New Year's? And I'm like, what are you doing for New Year's? I'm trying to get that kiss at midnight, right? So she's like, oh, you're free. She goes, great. I'm going to tell my dad to hire you for New Year's. I'm like, hire me to do what?
Oh, no. Oh, no. I can see where this is going.
Because I'm a DJ. That's what I do. Okay, great, right? Her dad calls me. I end up borrowing equipment from friends and putting together this Frankenstein of a DJ set. And I show up at her place and I play some songs that I thought people would like, right? And the funny thing about it is it just, was a testament to my deep vocabulary of music. And when it comes to talent, I just had this innate, natural ability to kind of look at this crowd of people and be like, okay, they'll probably like this, right? And then I was like, well, if you like this, then you're gonna like that too, right? And
wow, so literally, this is amazing. Yeah. I just want to jump in on this bit. So you literally have not DJ'd before. Obviously, your passion's been music, so hence the reason you've got all the records, so to speak. And what I'm jumping ahead a little bit because I'm just curious, but you kind of worked out that you were pretty talented, probably because I would imagine that you're so passionate about it. I mean, you're pretty obsessed with it, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't want anybody to think that I kind of woke up with the skills. Remember, there's talent in terms of being able to entertain your audience, right, and connect with them in terms of their musical taste. Then there's skills in terms of mixing, scratching, all that kind of stuff. The skills were zero. I want to be clear. Okay. Do you remember? Listen, over here we have like a show we used to call Casey Kasem's Top 40, right?
Yeah, I remember that. I may look young, but I'm a bit old, right?
Okay. So imagine Casey Kasem's Top 40, but live in a party form. Meaning, I would play a song, the song would finish, I would get on the mic and be like, hey guys, that was a good one. Would you like another? Okay, here it goes.
What let's just get a bit of a timeline on this, Irie. So when was this first gig?
This first gig, listen, it was 1994.
Wow. Okay. So it was kind of not like the whole electronic dance DJ stuff that we hear. Everything's
not not even close. I mean, I was just fortunate in that everybody was drunk at that party, so they didn't mind the skills part so much, right? New Year's is a good time to kind of come out because you know what, you're gonna have a good time. It's hard to have people not have a good time on New Year's, right? So I lucked out there, but unbelievably, it led to another opportunity, which led to another, and then that's when I kind of said, wow, this could be a thing. Let me, step back a bit and work on these skills because I love this. This is something that I've always wanted to do. I never thought I could actually do it until here I am doing it, right? And, the kind of aha moment wasn't until I went to college, went to Florida International University here in Miami, right? And quickly, I was kind of like the go-to, DJ, around campus. So all the sororities were hiring me to do their parties, all the fraternities, all the official university events, and I'm like, man, like, this is crazy. I was studying medicine.
Right, okay.
I was going to be, listen, I have Caribbean parents, for all those out there that don't have Caribbean parents, they're very supportive. And my Caribbean parents basically told me, son, we believe in you. We believe in your talent. We're here to support you. We want you to know that you can follow any passion you have. You can be anything you want as long as you're a doctor or a lawyer. Right?
Well, I had the same conversation, but there was nothing to do with being from the Caribbean. I was from a place called Adelaide, South Australia, and I had the same chat. It was like,
Did you really? Oh, well, you know what? I had no idea that conversation happens outside the Caribbean, the little Caribbean bubble there.
It might be generational. I'm 46, Irie. How old are you?
There you go, dude. I'm right behind you, man. I just turned 45.
Well, see, it's generational. It's what our parents told us at that point, I'm sure.
It's generational. It's generational, man. So, making that commitment, that leap to say, hey, I've just been doing this as a hobby, and I'm paying my tuition, and I have a car, and I'm kind of buying the things that I want to buy as a kid still, right? I was like, wow, what if I really took this serious, right? And started to invest in building a brand, right? And really building out a full, client base, et cetera, et cetera. And I was kind of wrestling with that a bit. And then I took the next dive, right? After leaving, college, and said, hey, this is what I'm going to really do. I'm going to build my business.
And how was, I mean, the first question before we get into the business side is, what happened to the girl?
Well,
I'll leave you hanging here.
I know. Well, okay, first, I did get the kiss, but that's all I got. All right, let me make that clear. I got no smooch. She got you into this world.
She got you into this world.
The funny thing about it is, that was my senior year, and graduated shortly after that. She went off to school in another state, and we lost touch. And I don't think I've actually. I got in contact with her once, probably a few years later, but I haven't spoken to her in years. But I hope she's great. Sarah, if you're out there, what's up, girl?
Yeah, awesome, Sarah. There's always the spark of inspiration that comes from somewhere, or the spark of a challenge. Let's jump into the business side, because what's interesting, right, is so obviously your parents are an influence on you. You want to do well by them and all that sort of stuff, but you've got this burning desire to do something with music, and you're now starting to discover this talent in yourself. Just take us through that decision-making process, because that couldn't have been easy. I mean, obviously you're thinking, God, perhaps what am I going to do? And do you remember when you made the decision and what was happening around that time?
I do remember when I made the decision, because it was probably about a good, month or so before graduation. And, I needed to start, figuring out if I was going to, go to medical school, figure out my next, move in terms of, am I going to, follow higher education, or, am I going to try to, go out into the private sector, like, what am I going to do? And then it was just like, wait a second. When I wake up in the morning, I'm thinking about music, right? When I get home from my classes, I'm thinking about music. I jump on, my turntables, first thing when I walk in the house, right? And before I go to bed at night, I'm thinking about music. Like, what am I doing, even considering anything else? I have to pursue this. And if I fail, I fail, but I know I would have tried to do something that I'm extremely passionate about. If I'm really extremely passionate about it, then how am I going to fail? And that was really my thought process. And I literally just marched right into my parents' room, and I was like, hey, I'm going to be a DJ full time.
Did you have any success before this point? I mean, obviously you said you were kind of getting some paid gigs and whatever else, but that was really just kind of, but were you starting to become known at this point before you had that conversation?
Yes. I mean, I was definitely known in that whole college kind of scene, because not only was I doing, all the stuff at FIU, I was doing, Gator Growl, which is like this big event that happens for homecoming at the University of Florida. I was traveling to go to North Florida. I was going to Orlando, doing different college events, right? So this whole college, circuit, I was definitely making some noise. I wasn't making enough to say, hey, I'm Mr. Independent now, and I'm going to go buy my place and all that. But, I was definitely handling all the things that usually someone, my age, going to have to get some assistance from their parents. I wasn't asking them for anything.
No,
I was helping
I get
out,
it. But
so yeah.
Yeah, no, it's fascinating. It's a fascinating piece because I mean, one of the things I wanted to touch on is, a lot of people, they give up on their dream for various reasons. Sometimes it's influence from parents or other people around them. Other times they just think it's too hard. How can I be a professional athlete? How can I be a world-renowned, DJ? How can I do anything that's just, so I'm just trying to get the mindset piece did you just have absolute belief that you were going to be successful because you had this passion? I just want to understand how you thought about this.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right, because you know what, I in the Irie Foundation, I talk to kids all the time. It's like, when kids, sit down and talk to me, there's like, they see the name and lights, and they see the flashy car and the and the medium on the mist. They just like think it just happened. You know what I mean? And they want it to happen for them too, but they're not understanding that bridge, right? And the work and the perseverance and all the different things that went into getting there, right? It's just like, just kind of skip right past that. So for me, probably one of the biggest things was that I didn't care about the money, right? As in, like, I wasn't in this because I'm like, wow, one day I'm gonna make millions, I wasn't in it because I thought, wow, one day my name would be in lights and on the marquee. I didn't think about any of that stuff, right? What I really thought about was, wow, I had this amazing opportunity to play for these people, right? I want to make sure to do the best job I can possibly do. Let me do some research and find out what they like, find out the kind of places they like to go. And I go and see, okay, what kind of music do they play? And I mean, I was so granular in my approach, on wanting to really just make sure folks had a really good time, because the worst thing that could ever happen to me was for me to show up and do my thing. People were like, oh, he was okay, right? Or didn't have a good time. That was death to me, right? That's like, no way. That's the worst thing that could ever happen. So I think because I stayed so laser focused on trying to deliver the best me I possibly could, my reputation, preceded me, and, the calls I started to get and the people I started to meet, I started putting the pieces together, and I said, every single one of these events that I perform, it's not about just going there and playing some music and leaving. It's about, hey, here is a launch platform, meaning that every single person there could possibly be a new client, right? So, I made it a point that, okay, if I walk into this room and I'm going to perform, I'm going to shake X number of hands, right? I'm going to, make X number of introductions, right? X number of connections. And I would be damned if I did not leave that event after performing my heart out, with, 3, 4, however number of new possible clients, right? And that's how I continue to build my base and build my business as a fledgling DJ.
Okay, there's a couple of things there I want to jump into because they're excellent points. I want to underline them a little bit because for the listeners to the podcast and people watching this live stream, the first part there, which you said in terms of, just being so granular, the word you used, and I use that word quite a bit as well because the detail matters. And sometimes people
absolutely matters.
Yeah, and that level of precision first and foremost, you're passionate about your craft, right? But then you're you're doing the work so that you're getting better and better. So even if you did have some skill in the beginning, I bet by now, obviously, I bet it's pretty damn well class.
Oh, I'd say so.
You're a humble guy. You're right.
I guess I can say so. Yeah.
We don't apologize for being awesome on this show.
I like that.
So that's the first piece, which is interesting, and then the second piece is interesting about the sort of the more strategic nature of you thinking about this as a business.
Yes.
So just let's go into that in a bit more detail. So you were literally when you performed, obviously you want to do your best. but you're also
Absolutely.
thinking about, this is growing my brand now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm like, you know what, what in the business do you really have the opportunity every single night to grow your business? Right? Because you never know who's in that audience. But here's the thing about it. A lot of people may approach it, other DJs may approach me like, oh, you never know who's in the audience, right? I approach it and I'd be like, I better know who's in that audience, right? I need to know, who's in that audience, right? And depending on who's there, I need to know there's certain people I need to meet, right? And my thing is this, I'm in a very competitive business, very competitive, you can say DJs are a dime a dozen. How do you elevate your brand up above the rest, right? And one of my things, was, I started looking at, the data, meaning that, okay, well, the people that are booking me most, who are they, right? Why are they booking me, et cetera, right? A lot of people just, depending on what they do, especially this can be applied to what I do in terms of DJing. It's just like they take this approach of okay, well, I'm not Facebook or GE, whatever. I don't need to look at data and try to figure out angles and strategy. It's just I go play, play some good tunes, have a couple of drinks, talk to some girls, and do it again next week, right? And I just refuse to take that approach. My thing was, when I started looking at this at the data and understanding, where my business is coming from, I realized that event planners, public relations firms, et cetera, et cetera. A big chunk of my business was coming from this particular sector, and I got to figure out that not only was I their go-to guy because I come and deliver a great show, right? Meaning what I literally do on those turntables for that 2.5 hours, right? It was the process. It was the process. And here's what I mean by that. The process in terms of picking up that phone or sending that email all the way through, the booking process to the end of the show. The process. And here's the thing about the process. I made sure I thought outside just my performance and about this process. And it was important to me that not only do I deliver the best show, but I deliver the best experience. And it came down to one thing. For my clients, when they pick up that phone and they get that commitment from me and we make a deal, guess what? They don't have to worry about it anymore. They're off to worrying about the stuff they really need to worry about, the menu, the this, the that, and this. It's done. It's done. He's not going to be late. He's not going to, embarrass me. He's going to be well dressed. He's going to, perform his butt off, right? All those things were so ingrained. They were like, yep, Irie's that guy because I call and it's done. I don't have to worry about it anymore.
I mean, this stuff's all excellent, by the way, because quite clearly people are probably thinking, so, world-class DJ, we're talking about scale up your business. You're just doing a masterclass in business. When did you realize that you were good at business?
You know what? I kind of realized that I didn't realize I was good at business. I realized that I was really interested in business because even though my passion was music, I'm going to date you now going back. When a lot of my friends were reading the Source magazine and Word Up, and I was reading Forbes.
There you go. Okay. There you go. Right.
I was reading Forbes. I was reading Entrepreneur. I was reading Fortune, and I was just reading about these incredible business luminaries and incredible CEOs and founders and their stories. And I found that just as fascinating, as I was passionate about, my music and producers and artists. So, I was like, well, there's no difference in what I do than GE's business or American Airlines business in that, I have to invest, right? I have to invest in my service and what I'm delivering, right? I have to market, right? I have to try to, create a narrative and shape, my PR moves. All these different things, I would literally think about, and I would set a roadmap, and it's kind of tough when you say, hey, you know what, this is what I want to be. Because, give you an example. When I first started, I got an amazing opportunity to perform a mix show on the urban radio station here in Miami, the number one urban station, right? It was awesome. And a lot of the parties I was doing were hip hop parties. But check this out. When the music conference started to blow up in Miami, right? It was to me, it was a rude awakening. For almost every other DJ that was on the same path as me, they were like, oh man, shit, I got a week off, right? But what went through my mind was the clubs that I would usually perform, they were like, hey, we're a music conference party, we don't need you, we'll call you for the next week. And I was like, wait a second, how come I'm not getting some of this business? Right? I was like, I understand that music. I could do this. But what I realized was the brand that I was building was in this particular box, right? And I said to myself, I was like, I'm an entertainer, You put me in front of a crowd of people, I'll figure it out, whether it's Latin, whether it's rock and roll, country. My vocabulary is deep, right? I can figure it out. So I shouldn't be, on the sideline when it comes to any particular genre of music, considering who your talent is going to be. And I was like, I got to change this. And I set out a plan to do that. And it's funny because a lot of other people would have said, oh, no, like you're known as this kind of, DJ. That's it. That's what you are. And I was like, no one's going to find me, and I don't care if it takes a year, a month, a year, or 10 years, right? I'm not going to let anyone define me or put me in a box because I know I'm more than that. And I started, it was painful because there was things that I had to say no to because it didn't really fit what I was trying to build,
Are you so to understand that now as well? Because what I'm sensing, and definitely from your profile as well, that you're not defined, as I said, by the music. It's defined by how you show up, right? And your values.
Correct.
So if you can articulate that for us, if I said to you, DJ Irie as a brand, right? I don't want to dumb it down because there's more depth to that question than what I'm saying. But how do you define it? It's got to be about your values and standards, I would imagine.
Absolutely. I mean, if it was one word, I would say excellence. And when I say excellence, it's excellence in whatever we are charged to do. Okay, whether it be music, whether it be anything else outside the business realm. When it comes to responsibility and delivering, DJ is going to do every and anything to deliver. Right? I mean, the USPS, they're cool. FedEx, they're pretty damn good. UPS, they're pretty damn good. But Irie delivers now. Okay, like you check that tracking number. Okay, it ain't good. Irie delivers. You know what I'm saying? So that's really what I wanted my brand to be about. That if you have Irie on the case, he's gonna figure it out. He's gonna get it done. That's guaranteed. You don't have to worry about it.
No, I got it. That's lovely. That's nicely put as well. Let's move in now into what you've created. So, again, I'll use some words that I've kind of coined down here, but you've got pretty much an empire around entertainment. Plus, you've got areas of philanthropy. You've got all sorts of other things going on, a portfolio of different interests. So just take us through your empire.
Yeah, sure. No problem. So I'll try to sum it up. But in my initial journey as DJ, started coming across these different opportunities. The first opportunity was people were calling me and they were like, hey, we want you to do this, that party. I'm like, man, I'm not available. I'm already booked. And they're like, well, do you know someone that could, similar to you, And I was like, well, yeah, actually, I do, call this guy. And then, a month later, they call back and they're, hey, listen, if you're not available, can you get me this guy again? I was like, well, why are you calling me? And I was like, wait a second. I was
There
like,
you
hold on
go.
a second. I was like, wait, I have all these clients that are doing things, at a clip where I can't do it all. And I know all these other DJs that are really great as well. They don't really haven't really figured out how to get their name out as much, right, and market themselves. So I was like, well, I'll be the conduit, right? And then so I started in my agency called Artist Related, and started to sign the DJs and have them perform gigs, and of course the company would make a commission, right? And then that expanded to celebrities because I'm out doing a show for MTV, and I meet Jay-Z, or I meet Drake, I meet this person, that person. We become cool, and then at these pubs I'm at, they're like, oh yeah, for New Year's we'd love to get Drake, whatever. I'm like, well, I can help, and we started doing that as well, So that's how Arts Related came about. The other thing was Irie Weekend, right? So Irie Weekend came about because a lot of my celebrity friends, especially the athletes, they would do like a fundraiser event or series of events throughout the year, and they would always call me to help them out. And when I started getting passionate about different social issues, I was like, wow, what if if I did something, could I pick the phone and call them? Would they be there for me? And at the very first Irie Weekend, I started making those calls, and it was just so humbling because it was absolutely, of course, I got you, I'm there, And between the brands that I was working with and different athletes, celebrities, they all kind of came together, and the support was overwhelming. And it's just, I'm in awe that I can sit here talking to you now and look back, and 15 years strong, of Irie Weekend. Last time I believe we've raised upwards of $30 million for different charities, right? It's incredible. Like, it's incredible, So there's that, and then which also leads to the Irie Foundation, because with Irie Foundation, working with these different athletes and going in and seeing the issues that they were supporting, I realized, wow, there's some areas that don't really get enough support, and I wanted to do something about that, and not just kind of pass the buck, So, with the Irie Foundation, it's really about giving, being the bridge, to giving kids that just don't really have access to those opportunities, to those resources, that they need to really be successful and live well-rounded lives. We try to bridge that gap, right? So,
Yeah.
then outside of that, I started to realize, wow, there's even more opportunity out there, because with the people, I mean, I've just, this path that I've been on has been so blessed, because I've met some of the most incredible people. I meet friends that are starting, technology companies, or other companies, and then I have friends that are investors and looking for opportunities. So I started, like, bringing people together even outside of entertainment and music, on a much higher level. So, for instance, a buddy of mine who was an investment banker for a long time, he started a VC firm, and I ended up bringing him 3 of his biggest deals, right? Just through, these are people that I knew, that I thought, their concepts were really, really solid. And you start putting them together, and kind of massaging the relationship, and then boom, deals are getting done, right? And I'm like, damn, this is crazy,
But it's all, but it comes back to, and I don't want to jump in again too much, but it comes back to kind of what you said at the beginning. You've been super intentional about making connections, showing up, with excellence, building those networks, and I honestly believe that when you do that right in the way that you've done it, and you've quite pretty focused, not so much on focus on what you're trying to create, but focused in the present moment to see the opportunities as they present themselves.
Absolutely.
That's when things really start to happen. That's what I'm hearing as you say it.
No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And the thing about it is, you can't just kind of go through and go with the motions, right? You got to kind of, stand back sometimes and really take stock of your social assets, your social net, your not your social networking, but your social network, right? And you have to understand, I truly believe that people enter your life for a reason, right? And my circle, of friends, I enjoy them as individuals, and we enjoy ourselves in our company. But I make it a point to surround, myself with people that I can learn from, right? That inspire me, right? That make me go, wow, that
Yeah, no, I'm with
and
you. I'm with you. And
yeah,
your environment, right? And there's that saying about the
it's
top 5 people you
important.
spend time with. But I often get myself in rooms, when we used to be able to travel, which was
Yeah,
easier. But I've got a story about that for you in a second. But and I'd be in rooms where I would feel intimidated because of the people there. Like, but what I
but that's a
realized
good
is
thing.
but it was intentional. I deliberately did it. I
Yeah,
wanted to
that's a
put myself
damn
in a
good
room
thing.
because if I was in a room where I was like the person who'd done the most and been the most, then how was I
That's
going
the
to
wrong
grow?
room to be in. Exactly. 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 Listen, whenever I find myself, the most accomplished or quote unquote smartest person in the room, I'm out. Like, I'm
Man, I love it.
yeah, love you guys, but I'm out.
Let me tell you a quick
Mm.
story, and we're going to come back to a couple more of your business pursuits in a second. But so if you go back about just almost 12 months, I was in Miami, right? And I
Nice.
was watching the Heat play. And I remember
Yeah.
there's this guy, he's just really good. He plays awesome music. I don't know who he is. Mind you,
I
that
might
was the
know who
last
he
trip.
is.
This is the last trip before everything got locked down. So this was, everyone kind of knew about COVID, but they didn't kind of realize what was going on.
What was
So,
going on the scale?
so how
Yeah.
did you get that? I mean, obviously we've talked about, I can answer probably to some extent all the networks and connections and you just the way you are. But how did you become
Yeah.
the first
Yo.
DJ, the first one to
Yeah.
be representing a professional sporting team in that way?
Yeah, that's wild. And not only the first, but now look back, it's I should have warned that 3 championship rings later, and 20 seasons, right? Like it's unreal. But the way that came about, back in 1999, the Heat were moving from the Miami Arena to their brand new home at the American Airlines Arena, right? And the marketing team wanted to kind of snazz up, the entertainment offering, right?
Yeah.
And so they thought of, hey, you know what? What if we had like an official DJ? What if you have an official band or something like that? But the DJ thing kind of stuck, and it's like, yeah, let's try it. And the vote in that room was that, hey, there's this guy that plays this particular club that he's really good and energetic. I think his name is DJ Irie. We should talk to him, right? So they go down to my club, but the way the club was set up, you couldn't really get to me because you had to go behind the bar to get to the booth, right? So, and back then it's not like I was in the phone book, so you had to have a connection to me to really get to me. And just so have it, I end up doing a birthday party for this guy. I didn't know who he was. This was on Hibiscus Island, which is like one of the nicer areas on the beach, right? I do this party and I see like some, Heat, uh, some players and coaching staff and all that, and I was like, oh man, maybe this guy has something with the Heat. Didn't really ask. Um, anyway, I did the party. It was a great party, and said, hey man, we'll keep in touch. He calls me 2 weeks later, and he goes, hey man, you're not gonna believe this. I'm like, what's up? He goes, I was at work today. He goes, by the way, I work for Pat and Chris Riley, right? And I'm like, oh, okay, well that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, I was at work and I was walking, down the hall and I overheard your name in one of the conference rooms. And I go, what? What do you mean? He goes, yeah, they were saying that they're trying to get in touch with you about an opportunity. So I went in and I told them that, hey, I know you because he did my birthday party, and they asked me to, have you come in for a meeting. I was like, okay, this is crazy. Sure. I go down, meet with them, and there's something called when keeping it real goes wrong. Okay, this is before I realized, wow, you know what? I need to be more enterprising. I need to, grow my brand outside of this box. Remember, I'm still living in the box at this time. right? There's only a few years since I started.
It's about 5 years, isn't it? So because 1994 was the last time.
Correct. Correct. Right? And 94 was like a wash because I did like 2 events in 94. That was the first one was like New Year's. So we can really say 95, right? So here I am in this meeting, and they're telling me about their season ticket holders. And you know what I said? I'm not your guy. I said, I'm not your guy. Like, thank you for the opportunity. Sounds cool, but you probably would be better off with somebody else. And I left the meeting.
Okay.
And thank God Almighty, they called me back. They said, you know what, we didn't even really get into the business of this. Can we just please have one more meeting? And I ended up going back in. And what really got me was the fact that I asked them, okay, well, run down to me how they do it in New York. And they said, well, New York doesn't have an official DJ. Well, what about LA? What about Chicago? What about here? What about there? They go, listen, we've done our research and we're pretty good at that. And no team has ever done this before. So we would really like to try this with you. We think you're the guy to try it with. And I was like, I win, lose or draw, no matter what. I'm the guy that was the first one to step into this role,
Why did you have that reservation? What was it about that first meeting where you said?
Right, I thought, I was worried that it would diminish my credibility at the time. Like I said, when keeping it real goes wrong, right? This is before I understood that I needed to be more enterprising in terms of my brand need to extend outside of just hip hop per se, right? I was just, in that whole little bubble where it's like, yeah, I got the new Wu-Tang, right?
Yes.
I got the new Wu-Tang. I'm playing the new Jay-Z, and and I was that guy. I was breaking records. Artists were sending me their stuff first, and I was just that guy in the bubble, And then I was like, well, you know what? That means my earning potential is limited to this bubble, And it wasn't until later on, and matter of fact, the Heat opportunity was part of that revelation, that epiphany. And I was like, why limit my earning potential to this bubble when there's a whole world of entertainment, a whole world, of music? Who cares about being the authority in this little bubble, right? That's as small as small thinking can get. I'd rather have a decent piece of the big pie, than to have all of this little one,
No, I get it. And you realize now, though, looking back, that the opposite is true.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because your brand is now so not so much defined about that one thing, but that's probably what's differentiated you and made you stand out, because you've got
big time. Exactly. I was just really in hindsight, I look back and I was like, man, it was definitely the right decision, and I would be just beating myself over the head, if sitting here looking at someone else, making it what it could be. And I was like, wow, that opportunity was in the palm of my hands, and when keeping it real goes wrong,
No, well, yeah, but there's a couple of really good lessons there again around being true to yourself. Even though the opportunity looks great, you were clear that you wanted to be true to who you are, and you had that view, but sometimes serendipity plays its hand as well. You know what I mean? Like,
for sure. And then, and listen, don't get me wrong. If it was like, if I was an individual that just my whole existence was based just in this particular, genre of music, then that's where I would be, But that's not who I was. I'm someone that I love music, period. I just happened to, got my foot in the door there, and had a, very, deep and heavy presence in that particular genre. But, you get in the car with me and I'm listening to everything, and it's like, that's like, I can do this, I can do a lot more than this. And I'm glad that I did take that path.
And how is your passion for music evolved, changed, over the years? Because, your time is now spread across multiple things, foundations, businesses. Has obviously the passion still there, but it must be different to what it was in the beginning.
Yeah, it's still there. It's still there, but it is different. It's like, I was at a point before where, you know, every single new thing that came out, I was right up on it, you know. And don't get me wrong, I still, take time to do my digging in the crates,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
but I'll be out, with friends, whatever, and I'm like, what the hell is that? I never heard that before, and I gotta, Shazam it, whatever. And I gotta make sure I have that, So the passion's still there, the taste is still there. I just think that, it's a little bit more of a challenge balancing, where I would usually just be 100% into the music every single day. Now it's like, okay, about 50%, music, then I have to, spend another 50% over here, on these different, business ventures, et cetera, et cetera. So it's about just figuring out that balance.
Yeah. Fascinating. This has been awesome. I want to just kind of cover before we start to finish up, because you've been very generous with your time. What
Sure.
are you working on now? What's the, what are the focus areas?
Yeah. Well, obviously my life changed drastically in the beginning of the pandemic, right? So going back to March, 2020, I literally had a calendar that was going out to August, right? And to see all of these events just evaporate, right? And to see literally, millions of dollars just disappear, right?
Yeah.
Was a pretty harrowing experience, right? And obviously it's about adjusting, adapting and kind of, figuring out a path forward. I was having a conversation with a really good buddy of mine who I've done a lot of things with in the past, my buddy Ben Sterner. We're literally on, and he founded a sports marketing firm, right? Done very well. He has, staff of like 20 something, professionals, New York City, right? And you go back and forth on the train, I call it an adult costume. You get in his suit, get in his adult costume, and go do his thing. And he's like, man, this has been really crazy for me as well. But I gotta admit, I kind of like the fact that I'm not, on the same train, going in every day in these long days. And I pretty much got things figured out with my team that, we're working remotely. We're doing, it's efficient. It's working out for us. And actually, I think kind of more productive, right? And I was like, dude, that's crazy. I'm over here figuring out, how to, live stream from my studio and getting that set up for the camera and all that kind of stuff. And we're like, man, just going over the different challenges that we're facing, in this transition. And we're like, man, I wish there was like a resource that, you can just go to figure out all the stuff that you need. And it's like, yeah, it'd be awesome, but it doesn't even exist. We're like, maybe we should do it. Right?
I love that.
And we're like, for real? Like, for real. And it's like, all right, well, let's do it then, right? I'm pretty sure I got the time. Sorry. So that's how, work from home was born. Ben came to me and he was like, work from home. Like that's it. Let's figure it out. And the first thing we kind of wanted to focus on was the fact that, especially with him, he had a situation where he had two modes. It was, work, which is, 3-piece suit, and home chilling, just in some sweats and a t-shirt and whatever. There was no in between, and we're like, what, this work from home phenomenon that's happening right now, we need to define that in between, because no one has to be sitting at home in front of the Zoom camera, in a 3-piece suit. That's not very
I'm normally
fun.
wearing pajamas or something like that. I thought, again, I
Well,
dressed up.
well,
But I'm looking at work from home, and it looks like really good gear. I've got to, I mean, in terms of just comfy stuff, and
it
totally aligns with where everyone is at right now. Because I don't wear suits anyway. But
well, there you go. Well, here's the thing about it is, you know what? It's about scaling up your business attire from home. Right.
I like that, because you don't want to just be in pajamas, because that doesn't really motivate me. I can't just get out of bed and sit here, right?
No,
I've got to at least have a shower.
And it's a mindset as well, right? You want to get into something that, like, I mean, listen, some folks, you can put them in anything or maybe even nothing, and they'll be great at their job, right? Other folks, they have to get into their work space, right? They have to get into something that kind of triggers that transition from, okay, I'm not chilling anymore, even though I'm in the confines of my home. I'm not chilling anymore. I'm about business. I'm about, my work, getting my work done, right? So it's really, and by the way, what you see now, it's about 30% of our full line. Obviously, it's been a bit of a challenge, developing products and sourcing them and all that, in the COVID environment. So, we have a bunch more of our line coming in by March, which we're really excited about. But
it looks really good. We'll definitely
so far.
Yeah, we'll definitely make sure we link all that up for everyone who is listening here. Let me just get this right. So it's wfhlife.com. That's right, isn't it?
Yes,
Harry?
that's it.
Yeah,
that's
check it out. Yeah, check it out, everybody. Let's put it this way: the world isn't going back, is it? It's not going to go back to. There'll be events again, but the whole idea of
there'll be events again. But listen, we're living in a much different different world now, different times, and we just have to make the best of it, and we're here to help you make the best of your work from home life, So continue to check in with us. We're gonna continue to add some amazing products and really help you, scale up your work from home life.
Well, you've done a masterclass in business scale up today, even though you probably don't realize it, because there's a number of things. Well, maybe you do. Maybe I'm. But a lot of it was a very effortless way of presenting how you've created what you've created. Nathan Pierce has said solid message. There you go. You've got a little bit of fan mail coming in on the chat here as well.
It's all good, man. Listen.
Hey, well, let's close this up, man. Where can people find you other than obviously wfhlife.com? How can people find you?
So personally, on social, just at Irie, IRIE, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and of course, my personal website is djirie.com. So
right, are you on Clubhouse yet? Have you been invited into that place?
I am on Clubhouse. It's interesting. I put my buddy Grant Cardone in, and he's been like blowing that thing up crazy.
Oh, he was on there for 10 hours the other night, and he had a lady come in as well.
Yeah, I'm the one that put him on there, man. It's like new.
Did you?
He's a good buddy of mine. Yeah.
It's pretty crazy. I mean, I found that when you host a room, like how we've got the topic today is about how do you make a business out of your passion, right? Those sort of topics are quite interesting. I was in a room with about 1,000 people last night, and I was on stage as well, just doing a bit of stuff. And I quite like it. I quite like the thing, but it's going to be interesting to see how it scales in its own right, because it's quite addictive.
That's the thing about it.
But I don't know where it's going to go.
I think listen, I think they've done a great job of the rollout, right? I mean, a masterclass job in the rollout, but like true scale in terms of what you see on a Facebook, a Twitter, and all that, I think is going to be a big challenge.
Yeah.
But, hey, God bless those guys, and I hope they figure that out.
Yeah, well, I'll see you on there, no doubt, at some point. But listen,
all right, you got it.
Irie, mate, you've been an absolute star in more ways than one. It's been great having you here. I look forward to seeing you when I'm in Miami next. At some point, I'll be at the game probably. I'll wave to you from where I am.
You got it,
but man, thank you very much for coming on Scale Up Your Business.
You're welcome, man. Have a good day, brother.